everyone, welcome back to my channel. It has been a long while. Last time I'm uploading videos was I think mid-September, and now it's already the end of October. Here I would like to bring you some relaxing content of me first scrapbooking and then doing jelly prints, which I will then explain what it is. But here basically I collected a bunch of materials such as museum tickets and just a bunch of tickets and booklets from museums that I've collected over the summer, and I thought using a little scrapbooking to tie them all together and doing some doodling on top was going to be a very fun activity. And it's also inspired by also kind of the same type of scrapbook that I saw on the internet. And basically the whole thing is tied up in a string, which I did just now, and then you just fold and slit a bunch of paper in so you don't have to bind the book, which is very convenient. And then what I did is I was inspired by the tickets that I had over the summer break and just kind of did drawings that were inspired by them, or photos from trips in the summer that I really liked. For example, this one I'm drawing this river. I will put a photo on the screen just to refer to what I was drawing. And I'm a big marker person when it comes to drawing casually, because I think it's such a versatile tool. And I have this like brush tip that works so well because you can freely adjust the thickness of the lines that you're drawing, and you can like do very expressive lines, but also details. So that's a final product. Is not my favorite drawing ever. This one is more my favorite, but whatever. And then I have this drawing based on one of the photos that I took in a museum, and I believe the artist was called E.T.A. Hoffman, and I believe he was an artist and writer who wrote the very famous The Nutcracker, which I used to read as a child, and movies were made out of it. Basically, it's fantasy land with different types of characters. And in this image, I would also put on the screen, it's kind of like a doorknob with a face on it, which is very weird, but also very cool, which is what I like. And here I took another approach to use a white kind of pastel pencil, I don't know what it's called, to draw on a green piece of paper to kind of flip the way that you think about colors, and then adding some shadings with a blue pen. So that was fun. Also not the best drawing ever, but you know what. And then the last thing I did before I was tired of doing this was extending a ticket. I think it was a Natural Museum's ticket that had like a globe on it, so I thought I'd extend that. Again, with my markers and color pencils, they're my best friends when it comes to drawing, and I actually make really cool drawings out of them, so there is that. I also don't make any sketches before I actually draw them. I kind of just go for it, because most of the time when I become more spontaneous, the result becomes better. So then I just gave up on the idea of doing like pre-drawing, but rather than just going for it, which you'll probably see like in most of the content that I post on social media. There's no planning whatsoever. So now that's the first part of the video. We'll move on to jelly printing, which is a tool that my art teacher showed me, which I've also seen on Instagram. And the like post I saw on Instagram was like they were transferring photos onto the jelly plate and then printing it on paper, which was just like mind-blowing. But I tried that and that didn't work. I don't know if it's because the magazine pages I was using didn't have the right kind of ink coverage, or the internet is a scam. But I still ended up creating some cool things with my own techniques that I've seen on the internet and just things that I've played with. The first attempt, yes, I tried to use the image transfer. It kind of worked, but it wasn't that clear or with a lot of contrast. But the first one did actually work, so I was like hopeful for a second, but you'll see in a sec just like how faint the lines are. And then the other thing that I saw other people did was like doing layers of colors. So then what's supposed to turn out as a result of this is like you'll have white marks with a red background, which didn't really work. But I still got some really cool textures, as you can see here. So like most of the trial and error papers that I've got in the beginning of doing this, I will definitely use them later for like collages or other artworks or drawing on top of them. So they're not going to waste. And the paint that I'm using here is acrylic paint. You have to work pretty fast because it dries very fast. So you gotta like roll it on with your brayer, and just here I'm using like a toothpick to draw out some shapes. And basically what's supposed to work is like when you remove paint, you're going to see those outlines when you print them on paper. But I kind of added like another backing color for it, but the last layer didn't dry yet. So it still created a cool texture, but you can barely make out what was going on or what I drew. So that was kind of also a fail. And then I kept trying just layering on paint and then just putting paper on, doing it as fast as I can to get some really cool textures. And I didn't like do a step and then show it to the camera, so you're gonna just have to see everything in the end. Okay, and then this next thing I saw was like paper emboss. You'd use like a ballpoint pen to draw, and then because the paper is embossed, apparently when you press that like embossed paper onto your Gelli plate, it's going to leave the drawing that you did onto the Gelli plate. So when you print again, the drawing is going to show on your print. However, I forgot that you need to leave the first layer of paint very thin for it to transfer, if this makes any sense. So that didn't work either, but I still like picked up a lot of the paint that was left over, so that was a cool print anyways. So like you know, there's just so many things that you can try to do, and there's nothing, you can't really make anything wrong, because anything that's not supposed to go the way you want it to be, it still looks very cool and you can still use it for something. For example, here I'm just literally printing paint on a already printed piece of paper, and it still gave it a very cool overlaying effect. And here is when I tried to like use magazine photos to transfer the images, and that didn't work. So after that, I kind of gave up on this idea and just started to experiment with the physicality of the Gelli plate. For example, drawing on it, which you will see later. And I have turned off the audio from the original video, which would have satisfying sounds of the brayers and paint. But that was deleted because I was listening to YouTube in the background. I don't want you to know what I was watching. So there's that. And yeah, this is what I mean when I'm trying to experiment more with the physicality of the Gelli plate, which is like directly interacting with it with my fingers and like tissue paper. And this print worked better on the second run. And just here as well, I'm stupid enough to not show you like the result the second I had it clearly, so whatever. But basically, because the layer of paint is too thick, the first layer just picks up the paint and mush it all together and doesn't have the clear lines that I drew on there. Anyway, so like what you need to control is like how thick the paint is, and just pray for the best, kind of. This is my favorite print, and I just use like tissue paper to kind of wipe off, aka also draw figures onto the plate. This is amazing. These are two of my favorite prints out of the whole like 50 ones that I did, but it still means something, so I was really happy about that. And this was like me in action using tissue paper to wipe off paint. This one turned out as great as the figures because it's more static, but I still like how expressive the strokes were. And here I was bringing in some black, which I surprisingly liked a lot. The result kind of looked like people in hell or something to do with after death, because the use of black and red. And as you can see throughout the video of Gelli printing, I've only used warm colors because like I was supposed to experiment this for another project that I was working on, which involved all warm colors. That's why. But also just because I like them a lot. That's why there's no cool colors, just in case anyone's curious. And yeah, we're at the end of the video. I think I've talked like way too much, so sorry about that. But here are all of the results. Some of them I printed first time, waited for it to dry, and then printed another time on top. So it's kind of also this overlaying effect. And I don't know, tell me which one you like the most. My favorite ones are the dancing figures, or any of them that kind of just had the wiping off effect. And I still don't know what I'm gonna do with like the textured paper that I've made, but that's story for another day. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope it wasn't too much of my voice to listen to for 10 minutes straight. But see you on the next one.